Everyday witches emerge from the shadows of secrecy. Broom closets are flinging open and witches are taking flight. Whether you are hiding in your cozy closet or flying with pride, stay for a spell as Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon and her guests share magical moments, stir the cauldron, and debunk misinformation and misconceptions about paganism, witches, and our wonderful world of magic.
Welcome to Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon. I'm your host, Theodora, and today my special guest is Andrea Cox. Hello, Andrea.
Thank you. It's actually Andrea, kind of like Henri, kind of like a brat, Andrea, but thank you.
Andrea, of course, Andrea. That's more elegant, isn't it?
It is. My mom always corrected people growing up, so I just got in the habit of it. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We have a lot to talk about.
We do. We do.
You are a detox intuitive, and you give intuitive guidance, akashic record reading. So I'd love to cover some of that, but let's start with how your spiritual journey started.
I feel like my spiritual journey started really pre this lifetime. The akashic records and I have, Piscean energy, being a Pisces and having almost all water in my chart. We're known to have like the book of the akashic records. So we know what everyone's path is supposed to be. And so I started off in the wellness movement years ago and became a holistic wellness coach, a detox specialist, worked with quite a few celebs and people just like you and I, and relocated after going vegan 24 years ago. I went vegan. I went raw vegan, and I'm still vegan today, and I'm in my late 40s. I moved to San Diego and really just pummeled with like celebrity client after celebrity client going on the news, and it just kind of all steamrolled from there. I wrote my first two books, Raw-Lici-ous recipes, when I was still living in Ohio, and my second book, Juicing for Beauty, shortly after I moved to Southern California. And I think my spiritual journey, I think I've had 3 spiritual awakenings, but the biggest one was after going through a breakup in 2017, being with someone for about 4 to 5 years. I just felt like everyone was coming into my life serving a purpose at that time. I met a soulmate who helped me heal very quickly. You know, those gorgeous soulmates that'll come in to just kind of make you look the other direction and finally leave the past behind. So I had one of those, and he was lovely. And, I realized I was on a solo spiritual journey. I realized I may not want to be in a relationship ever again. And it was really because I had a message to share. I started a second YouTube channel called the Detox Intuitive. So my first YouTube channel, Andrea Cox TV, in health and wellness, had hit 4 million views. And I started a second channel that quickly shot up to 2 million views, the Detox Intuitive. Yeah, I would love for your followers to subscribe to both. And I started doing intuitive readings. And to my surprise, my readings would get like anywhere from 20,000 to 30,000 views within a few hours because my whole chart is water. So it's kind of like the intuitive 3 signs make up my almost entire chart outside of 2 placements.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but usually if you have lots of water in your chart, you're born to be intuitive.
Yeah. They're the 3 most intuitive signs are Pisces, known as the High Priestess, Cancer, known as the Zodiac Mother and the Moon, and Scorpio, the Phoenix rising seen through the darkness. And my sun sign is Pisces, my moon is Scorpio, my rising is Scorpio, my Saturn is in Cancer, my Venus is in Pisces, I don't want to give away too much of my birth chart because people can do work on you if they know your full birth chart. So I'm very mindful of that. However, having Celtic Scottish blood also, I'm just very, it's kind of like in the blood.
Tell us about the detox intuition. What do you do for people? What kind of detox? Is it their body, their soul, getting rid of bad relationships, all of it?
So the Detox Intuitive was born, and really AndreaCox.com is my main website, my name. And my logo there is providing you clarity, body, mind, spirit, and home. So I believe that our issues live in our tissues, and we simply cannot have financial abundance, healthy relationships, and happiness until we first cleanse the body on a cellular level. Now, for me and for many of my clients that come to me, they want to go more plant-based because as we go along our journey, not to say vegans for everyone, but you can't eat low vibrational foods, dead decomposing animals, and expect to rise vibrationally, right? I'm almost half a century old. And usually when I meet people, they're like, huh? Like what? And there's no bullshit. There's no hair extensions. So, when I tell people, well, I've eaten a 100% almost raw and vegan way of life, and I eat chocolate and vegan pizzas and everything else, they really are like, wow, I want to learn about that. So this started out when I was a fitness model and I went vegan 25 years ago, teaching people, getting their attention through my appearance, and then teaching them how to cleanse the body at a cellular level. But as I went along my journey, I realized that a lot of people suffer from things that really aren't, are hard to get rid of, like entity attachments and people attaching to their energy and trying to siphon their energy, or people seeing them, go through certain things and wanting to really harbor their energy as their own. And so I had to learn how to protect myself and how to heal my body in order to protect my energy from other people trying to interfere with my life. I went through a couple relationships where the person's new partner would like see me online and be like, I want to be like that. Let me be like that. And they try to siphon my energy. And I had to really learn how to protect my own energy. So I do a lot of cord cutting protection work for my clients. I utilize living foods. I put them on a living foods lifestyle. Herbs. I make my own medicine. I grow all my food out here and make my own medicine. And the akashic records, doing akashic record readings for them to really get them on their path.
Tell us how you read the akashic records.
You can't really tell one how you read the akashic records. Of course, there's standard protocol, which is the akashic record prayer, etc. Usually before I work with a client, I will get so many downloads the 24 to 48 hours prior that there will be 4 pages full of downloads. And usually when I sit down with a client and I say, okay, who was the grandmother that loved to cook pasta? They'll start crying and they'll be like, oh my God, that was my grandmother in the bed. Bah, 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 bah. I'm so intuitive and so able to connect to the other side that when a client books and I first connect with them, I always ask their guides to hold off until 24 hours before their reading, because when the downloads come, it can result in a headache. It can result in a heaviness in my thighs, buttocks, and legs. It can result in heaviness of the extremities, and I have to unload all those downloads on paper. So usually I don't like it interfering with my life until right before. And that's in a sense of why I charge, I charge $397 for a reading. It's an hour-long reading, and rightfully so. I mean, my clients walk away with the ability to know how to get rid of entity attachments in their life, who their protective guides are, who they need to put on their altar table and pray to, all of that good stuff. So there's no one way how I do an akashic record reading. It's basically connecting with my clients' spirit guides, which they usually have trouble connecting with because of the clutter in the body. because we can all give ourselves an akashic record reading. We can all connect with our guides, but if we're eating bullshit every day, we're not going to be able to do so.
Tell us how a person can get rid of entity attachments. Give an example of an entity attachment for those who may not understand.
Yeah, great question. So an entity attachment is anything or any person or any entity, right? Any extraterrestrial, any person that feels they want to rob you of your light. So they try to attach to your light. So in a sense, it's a destiny thief, right? It's someone who sees you shining and they're like, I want that, very kind of clout chasing, low vibrational energy. And they try to attach themselves to your light. An entity attachment can also be an ex-lover, an ex-partner, an ex-husband or a wife, an ex-boyfriend or a girlfriend that doesn't want to let you go, that doesn't want to see you serve your highest good and wants to halt and to stagnate you. That is what an entity is. It's anyone or anything purposely trying to interfere with your destiny, steal your destiny, or rob you of your time, clutter your mind to try to cause confusion that interferes with your destined path. Because we all have a destined path. But if we have people interfering in it, that's not good.
And that's where you come in. You can help them get rid of those entity attachments.
150%. I come in a way of working with people through the foods they eat, promoting living foods, a living food lifestyle, herbs, making herbal medicine for them to get them on the straight and narrow, to get rid of addictions, to get rid of substance abuse. Because when you have addictions, you are an open portal to entities. When you have addictions, you are an open portal to entities. So I come in and use living foods, herbs, and the Akashic records to, in a sense, heal them so they're able to connect with their guides better and they're able to protect their own energy.
That sounds incredible.
It is.
All of us can probably relate to these entity attachments throughout our life. And it is freeing when we get rid of them.
It is, and it's tough. It's tough. It almost broke me to get rid of mine. With my situation, I had a person I dated for a very short amount of time, less than 6 months. And he was definitely a clout chaser. He saw me on the news, bought my program, proposed to me, moved me into a house within 3 months of us dating, before I even consummated the relationship. So before I even slept with him, he was really trying to and we were just different. And so when I left, I thought, okay, everything's fine. I got into a relationship. He got into a relationship. Years later, he met a woman and she became obsessed with me. She became obsessed down to the point of stealing the color scheme on my website, wanting to name her programs after mine, like one letter off, taking things I would write out of a long post, like short snippets, and using them as a quote. It was crazy. And posting slander on social media about me. And I realized she was kind of stalking me through social media. I thought, okay, are both of them tag team doing this, or is this just her? This is weird. And it was a need for her to get my attention. And so I realized that the way to get rid of her, the way to get rid of them, and they still report my content today. I have to diffuse 6 to 10 reports every morning on my largest social media platform. The way to get rid of them was to ignore them and to use this beautiful lesson they had given me to rise above and keep growing and getting bigger in spite of them trying to take me down. It just so happened I had the tools to cleanse my body, to tap into the Akashic records, to pull my records and to see where this intervening was pre-written and how to actually stop it in its tracks. And that's what I've done. The only thing they can do now is report me on social media. And according to my Akashic records, my social media will always be safe. They will be wasting their time until the end of time. They can report me 500 times a day until the end of time. and it'll still sit on every platform. So that's how I overcame this.
Wow, you have these cyber stalkers.
I do. Yeah.
And you know them personally, kind of, sort of.
I do. Yeah, I do. And it's sad. And it's sad that people have that much time in their day, and that when they don't, they hire people to do that. It's very sad. Because, you know, we sit here as two grown women, and think, I would never do that, nor would I have the time, nor would I even know how. But, you know, in hindsight's 2020, I've learned so much technical knowledge. I've learned so much from a forensics expert I hired. I've learned so much on how to protect myself. I've learned so much on how to flip the tables on them, that I feel empowered now. So what they did is they actually did me a favor by attacking me. I'm so much stronger than I was.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You won.
I did win. I did. And I won with peace. I won with knowing that in order to even find their social media, I would have to like Google how to spell one of their names. And because it's a complicated spelling, but the other one like looks at me every day. So in a sense, that's an obsession. And obsessions, they fall off on our children, they fall off on our pets, they fall off in our love life, they fall off in our health. And so I won because I don't have an obsession. And that's a good feeling. Like when you have to Google someone's name that's stalking you because you don't know how to spell it, you know you've risen above it. Talking about it is something I really would like to stop doing, though, because that fuels them. They get excited, you know, when I talk about it. But it's been a lesson. It's been a learning lesson that I've grown from.
I'm sure the audience can relate to this some way in their life, too. So listening to your story is helping them.
Yeah, and I plan to do a TED Talk on this. I plan to use how I just recently hired a forensics expert, and he can actually look through, I don't want to make this a video about cyber stalking, but he can actually find down to the IP address through a VPN, the location of the street the person's on who's doing this. And if someone's hired someone, he can see the correspondence between who the person that's been hired has been corresponding with. So I've learned that these things can actually be caught and people can get in big trouble. It's 4 to 5 years in prison when you stalk someone on the internet, and when you slander them online, and when you mass report their content in order to cause disruption when their content is tied to their business. It is a federal crime. And so learning this, having this knowledge now, knowing how to stop it in its tracks is very freeing. I feel empowered. In fact, if something were to happen to one of my platforms, knock on wood, they would go to jail because that affects my money. So it's kind of like, keep doing it, you know, like there's no reason for it, but jealousy and envy. And when someone harbors jealousy and envy towards another, they have entity attachments. They need to clear themselves of entity attachments. It's like Jezebel spirit. You know, the Jezebel spirits, the ones that always go after the married men and stuff like that, the kind of, well, it's like the whore, you know, Jezebel spirit. They go after people who are already attained, who are already in a partnership. And they do that because they have that kind of slutty, passed down through generations, hoary Jezebel energy that needs cleansed. They have entity attachments. They need to cleanse out their grandmother that ran a brothel in 1908 or whatever, you know? I mean, it's so obvious to me. And so when I look at these people, I have to look at them from an above perspective, not like, oh, I'm better than you and I'm this. I don't feel that way at all. I have insecurities just like the next person, but that they have attachments that need cleansed, that cause them to come after me. It's almost like mothering the situation. Like, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm not going to give you any attention for poor behavior. You know, go about your petty little games, and I'm going to keep rising above. So that's how that is.
And really, that is the answer. Keep rising above. Because all that jealousy and envy, that's petty bullshit.
It is. It is petty bullshit. And I think if people actually learned about entity attachments and knew how to cleanse themselves of it, right? It could be the person sleeping right next to you. It could be anyone. It could be someone from your past, someone that just instilled that evilness in you. It could be, your mother, your grandmother. It could be that you were left at a young age. Your parents left you, you got put up for adoption, and you have harbored this anger and resentment your whole life. When someone recognizes that they have entity attachments and they're able to free themselves of that, then the obsession with another person goes away and they're able to actually fulfill their life's calling, not from being obsessed with someone else and what they're doing and wanting to siphon their energy, but actually by really finding your true purpose, really finding your own voice, really finding yourself, instead of being this little ankle biting, clout chasing person that's like, what's so-and-so doing? I need to do that. And it's just a very ugly spirit. And it's entity attachments. And I would have never known about entity attachments had this not happened to me. I just would have thought, okay, I'm being stalked online. And now I understand. So I have compassion for the people attacking me. I actually have compassion because I know that they can't survive without one another and feeding anger, bitterness, and jealousy towards me and projecting. They can't survive.
Really, they're wounded people.
Wounded. Yeah. Hurt people hurt other people. And insecure people report other people's content. And low vibrational people treat people with judgment and envy and just in a low vibrational nature. It's not judgment to call out bullshit that other people are doing, but it's judgment when you're like, that person doesn't deserve that. Let me try to destroy it. It would be like me seeing your podcast and being like, oh my God, her podcast has more followers than mine. Report. It's immature. It's third grade.
And you know what? There's enough for all of us. There's abundance everywhere.
Amen. And you cut off your abundance when you have that energetic field of thievery and wanting to target other people. You cut off your own abundance. You cut yourself at the knees. And that's what people don't understand.
I'd like to ask you about a book you wrote. Eat Right for Your Zodiac.
Yes. Eat Right for Your Zodiac. 155 pages of plant-based recipes. Eat Right for, the number 4, Your Zodiac. This came about, was my third book I wrote. The first is Raw-Lici-ous recipes. The second is Juicing for Beauty. And it can be found on AndreaCox.com, also in Amazon, also in Barnes & Noble. Prefer you to get it on Amazon and write a review or get it on AndreaCox.com. It came about from being vegan for 24 years and realizing as an astrologer, we all have different needs, right? Aries being the leader, they need to feel more grounded. They need heavier foods, nuts, seeds, things of that nature. Pisces, like me, we're up in the air a lot. We need some grounding foods. Capricorn, earth, they need more water-rich foods. And so there's a chapter in the front of the book basically telling you how to eat or suggesting how you should eat depending on your sun, moon, and rising sign.
Sun, moon, and rising sign.
Yeah, your sun, moon, we're more of our moon sign than we are our sun sign, right? I'm more of a Scorpio than I am a Pisces. Pisces are so sweet, loving, and, and I am sweet and loving and love animals and love nature. But, Scorpio is my moon and my rising, although I'm Libra rising in Vedic. And I do have that scorpionic nature about me.
The only water I have in my chart is my moon is in Cancer.
You look earth to me. Are you earth?
I'm fire.
Are you fire? Are you Aries? What are you?
I'm Aries, Sun, and Sagittarius rising.
And your moon is in Cancer?
Yes.
Moon in Cancers. Yeah, don't piss them off. I love Cancer moons. I bet you really felt this last full moon we had. about a week ago, because Cancer moons really feel, Cancer is the mother. They're the zodiac mother. Are you a mother?
I am.
They are the mothers of the zodiac. They are very intuitive. They are very, and Aries is the leader. So you pioneering a podcast and other things you've pioneered are right up your alley. And we could all stand to listen to Aries and learn from Aries. I am one day away from it being in Aries. I'm on March 19th. So I think an hour later, I would have been in Aries. So I think I'm more of an Aries than I am a Pisces. And then you have that Sag rising, so that thirst for excitement, right? And that's what gives you the energy to go after your dreams too. I love Sagittariuses.
Tell us a little bit more about the book.
So the book is 155 pages of plant-based recipes, and it's a lot about, I grow my own food. So I grow about 90% of my own food up here in the desert. And it's a lot about growing your own food and just recipes that my grandmother LaGolda made, she's the one that taught me how to garden, but more veganized. So if I stick my thumb in the book and I pick a recipe, here we have Piscean Princess Pineapple Smoothie. But if I go into here, we have cornucopia corn chowder. It's all raw vegan. There's some cooked vegan foods in there as well. And every recipe has a photo. Special place in my heart, because I actually wrote this book because one of my rescue dogs who passed away was dying. His name was Roger. And his treatments were like $32,000. So I wrote the book to raise money, but it became like a spirit baby for me.
Aw, that's really sweet. That makes that book very special.
It does. He was such a special dog. I rescued him and he had cancer from Downey County in LA. And I had him 5 years, and then he got something that deformed his whole face. And it was so sad. It was honestly, it's the hardest thing I've ever went through. And I've lost a parent. This was the hardest thing. It had me on my knees for like a year. I couldn't leave the house. It was really emotional. And I have a 23-year-old dog on my floor right here in front of me, and I have another rescue.
Losing a pet is like losing a child.
I got to tell you, I suffered so much during his illness and watching his face become deformed from a tumor and them telling me nothing could be done. I purchased it's called a resonant light Rife machine. I had to get a security clearance for it out of Canada to treat him with that for cancer. And the money I spent, I couldn't spend enough. Everything, acupuncture, doctors, I had a biopsy done. Towards the end, I went against my own better judgment, and I went from holistic to allopathic, which I would never recommend anyone do unless a dog was severely injured, like got hit by a car or something, knock on wood. Because when a dog has cancer, it's always best, if it's not isolated to one spot, to go the allopathic route. And I listened to a group of doctors, and I wish I wouldn't have, but it's nor here nor there.
You also have an oracle deck.
I do.
You designed it?
I did. I designed an oracle deck called The Lessons of the Mystical Muse. We are working on the box for it right now. It has an interactive book where one can write what they feel the meanings of the cards should be. I want people to really use their intuition. It's got everything from a card called No One Can Steal Your Destiny to a codependency card to a card about growing your own food, juicing. There's all kinds of, it's beautiful. It's in the final stage. We're creating the box for it this week. So it should be out within a month.
Oh, that's exciting.
I'm super excited. It's been a year in the making.
Yeah, I bet it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I've shared quite a few of the cards on social media, but it is really pretty.
Well, I'll be one of the first ones to purchase it because I love stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I have my house is like filled with all witchy. I've got like a clear your energy room spray from my Etsy store right here and everything else. I do have a esoteric Etsy shop called the Detox Intuitive as well.
you have a website, AndreaCox.com.
Mm-hmm.
You have a YouTube channel, 2 YouTube channels. What are the names of your YouTubes? And I'm going to also put these in the episode notes, but just so that they can find you.
Yeah, so the AndreaCox.com is more of my wellness site, but I do offer astrocartography readings. It's called Intuitive Interiors, and that helps people find their proper location to live down to the house number for when they're relocating. A lot of realtors, I'm tied in with 2 realtors in California that use me a lot for that. It's a little more expensive because it should be, because where we live is critical. You don't want to live on your Pluto, your Saturn, and the numerology is also critical. So I also have my akashic record readings on there. You just want to go to the intuitive section of AndreaCox.com. And then I have a second website called the Detox Intuitive, which is all my spiritual stuff. With the YouTube channels, Andrea Cox TV, we are at 4 million views. It is all health and wellness. There's over 1,000 raw vegan recipe videos. And then the Detox Intuitive, where I do a monthly reading for the 12 Zodiac signs. And we just hit, I think, 17,000 subscribers there and 2 million views.
Fantastic.
I have a podcast, the Hermetis Podcast. I'll have to have you on. The Hermetis Podcast.
Oh, I'd love to be your guest.
I would love to have you.
That'd be great. This has been a wonderful episode, Andrea, and I thank you for being my guest.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you and your cool glasses.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Witchcasting with Theodora Pendragon. Have a burning question or have a topic you'd love Theodora and her guests to discuss on the show? Contact her through Instagram at Theodora Pendragon. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And help us spread the word by leaving us a rating and review and sharing it with your friends. See you next time, and may your magic always shine.